Your restaurant is a joke. Dad's giving me the money to open a real business. Marcus said it across the family dinner table, his voice dripping with condescension. Their father, Richard, nodded in agreement. Their mother, Patricia, looked at Maya with something close to pity. Maya sat very still, her fork frozen halfway to her mouth. She'd spent the last hour listening to her family discuss Marcus's new tech startup idea. She'd been patient, supportive even, asking questions about his business plan. Now she knew why they'd invited her to this dinner. Not to celebrate her recent promotion to sous chef at one of Boston's top restaurants. Not to acknowledge her culinary skills or her dedication to her craft. They'd invited her to witness her father choosing Marcus over her. Again, I asked Dad for that money 3 months ago, Maya said quietly, to open my own restaurant. And I told you then it was too risky, Richard said, cutting his steak with deliberate precision. The restaurant industry has a 90% failure rate. Marcus's tech company has real potential. I've been working in restaurants for 8 years. I know the industry. I have a business plan. I have investors interested. I just needed seed money. Exactly, Marcus interjected. You needed money because no real investors believe in your little cooking dream. My startup has already secured interest from actual venture capital firms. Interest isn't funding. It's more than you have. Maya looked at her father. Dad, I've worked my way up from line cook to sous chef at Aubergine. That's one of the best restaurants in Boston. Chef Laurent wants to mentor me, help me open my own place. This isn't a dream, it's a viable career path. Cooking is a nice hobby, Patricia said gently, but Marcus is talking about building a real company, something that could be worth millions. Restaurants can be worth millions. Can be, Richard emphasized, but usually aren't. Marcus's tech company, if successful, could scale internationally. Your restaurant, at best, would be a single location with razor-thin margins. So you're saying my work isn't valuable because it doesn't scale. I'm saying it's not a smart investment. And I'm not willing to risk $200,000 on something so likely to fail. $200,000. The exact amount Maya had requested. The exact amount Richard was now giving to Marcus for a tech startup he'd conceived 2 weeks ago with zero industry experience. Maya set down her fork. She looked at each of them. Her father, who'd never once eaten at her restaurant despite her countless invitations. Her mother, who still introduced Maya to friends as our daughter who works in food service. Her brother, who'd never held a job for more than 6 months but somehow deserved a 6-figure investment in his latest scheme. Congratulations, Marcus, Maya said, standing up. I hope your startup succeeds. Don't be dramatic, Patricia said. Sit down and finish dinner. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being clear. You've made your choice and I respect it, but I'm done asking you for support that you're never going to give. Maya, that's not fair, Richard said. We're not saying we don't support you. We're saying we don't support this particular venture. You've never supported any of my ventures. You didn't support culinary school. You didn't support my apprenticeship in France. You didn't support my decision to work at Aubergine instead of getting a real job. You've spent my entire career waiting for me to fail and give up cooking. Because cooking isn't a career. Richard's voice rose, its manual labor dressed up as artistry. You're 32 years old, Maya. You should be thinking about stability, retirement, a real future. I am thinking about my future. A future where I own my own restaurant. Where I create food that matters, where I build something I'm proud of. But clearly that future doesn't include funding from this family. Maya walked out, leaving her half-eaten dinner on the table and her family staring after her in shocked silence. She drove back to her apartment in Cambridge, her hands shaking on the steering wheel. Not from sadness, though there was plenty of that. From clarity. Her family would never believe in her, never value her work. Never see her as anything other than the daughter who'd made impractical choices and refused to grow up. Fine. She'd prove them wrong without their help. Maya Rodriguez was 32 years old, a highly skilled sous chef at Aubergine, and the family disappointment. Not because she lacked talent or dedication. She had both in extraordinary measure. She'd graduated from the Culinary Institute of America, done a year-long apprenticeship at a 2 Michelin star restaurant in Lyon, and spent the last 4 years working under Chef Laurent, one of Boston's most respected culinary talents. But none of that mattered to her family. Because Maya was a chef, and in the Rodriguez family, success meant corporate careers, six-figure salaries, and traditional markers of achievement. Her father Richard was a commercial real estate developer. Her mother Patricia was a corporate attorney. Her older brother Marcus had bounced between tech jobs and startup ideas, never quite succeeding but always managing to convince their parents that his next venture would be the big one. Maya was the one who'd chosen passion over practicality, the one who'd insisted on culinary school despite her parents' objections, the one who worked 80-hour weeks in hot kitchens for modest pay while Marcus lived in a nice apartment funded by their parents' generosity. The dinner where everything imploded happened on a Tuesday evening in March. Maya had been working at Aubergine for 4 years, recently promoted to sous chef, earning respect in Boston's competitive culinary scene. She'd developed a signature style that blended her Venezuelan heritage with French technique, creating dishes that were innovative and soulful. She'd been planning to open her own restaurant for 2 years. She had a concept, a location scouted, a menu designed. She had commitments from several small investors who loved her vision. She just needed seed money to cover initial build-out costs, equipment and operating capital for the first 6 months. $200,000. A significant amount but not unreasonable for a restaurant launch. She'd asked her father for it 3 months ago, presenting a detailed business plan, financial projections and letters of commitment from her other investors. Richard had said he'd think about it. For 3 months he'd thought about it. Meanwhile, Maya had continued working at Aubergine, saving every penny she could, networking with potential investors, refining her concept. Then Marcus had mentioned at Sunday brunch that he had a brilliant tech idea that was going to revolutionize customer service through AI. He'd been vague on details but enthusiastic about potential. 2 weeks later, Richard called a family dinner. Maya had thought maybe it was about her restaurant funding. She'd been hopeful, even optimistic. She'd been wrong. The dinner was to announce that Richard was investing $200,000 in Marcus's tech startup. The same amount Maya had requested. The same amount Richard had called too risky for her restaurant. Sitting in her apartment after walking out, Maya opened her laptop and looked at her restaurant plans. 3 years of work. Detailed designs for the space. Menu concepts tested and perfected. A name she loved, Alma, Spanish for soul. She'd been so sure that with her father's investment, she could make it happen. Now she had to figure out another path. Her phone buzzed. A text from Chef Laurent. "Can you come in early tomorrow? Need to discuss something important." Maya replied that she'd be there at 8 a.m., then spent the rest of the night researching alternative funding sources. Small business loans, restaurant-specific investors, crowdfunding platforms. There had to be a way. She fell asleep at her laptop, exhausted but determined. What Maya didn't know was that Chef Laurent's important discussion would change everything. Maya arrived at Aubergine the next morning at 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes early as always. The restaurant didn't open until 5:30 p.m. for dinner service, but the kitchen staff typically arrived by 9 a.m. to begin prep work. Chef Laurent was already there, which wasn't unusual. He often came in early to work on new dishes or review operations. "Maya, thank you for coming in," he said, gesturing to his small office off the main kitchen. "Please sit." She sat, suddenly nervous. Chef Laurent's expression was serious, almost grave. "I'm going to be direct with you," he began. "I'm selling Aubergine." Maya felt her stomach drop. "What? Why?" "I'm 63 years old. I've been running this restaurant for 15 years. I'm tired, Maya. I want to retire, spend time with my grandchildren, maybe do some consulting work, but nothing with this level of intensity. I understand, but what happens to the restaurant? To the staff? That depends on who buys it. I have several offers from restaurant groups who would keep the concept but replace most of the staff with their own people. I also have offers from developers who would close Aubergine and convert the space into something else entirely. Maya felt sick. Aubergine wasn't just her workplace. It was where she'd learned to be a leader, where she'd developed her culinary voice, where she'd built relationships with purveyors and regulars and staff who'd become family. Is there anything I can do? She asked quietly. Chef Laurent looked at her carefully. Actually, yes. I want to offer you the opportunity to buy Aubergine. Maya stared at him. I what? You're the best chef I've ever worked with, Maya. You understand this restaurant. You know the staff. You have relationships with our vendors and clientele. If anyone should own Aubergine, it's you. Chef, I'm honored, but I don't have that kind of money. I've been trying to raise funds for my own small restaurant. I can't possibly afford to buy Aubergine. The sale price is 1.2 million. I know that's substantial, but I'm willing to structure a deal that could work for you. A smaller down payment, seller financing for a portion of the price, and a transition period where I stay involved to ensure continuity. Maya's mind was racing. How small of a down payment? 300,000. Which I understand is still a lot, but it's more achievable than 1.2 million outright. 300,000. Maya had 50,000 in savings. She had commitments from small investors for another 100,000 for her restaurant concept. That left 150,000 short. I need time to think about this, Maya said, and to see if I can raise the capital. Take a week, but Maya, I need to tell you, the restaurant groups are pushing for a quick close. If you can't make this work, I'll have to accept one of their offers. Maya spent that week in a frenzy of activity. She reached out to every potential investor she knew. She applied for business loans. She looked into SBA financing, restaurant-specific lenders, even crowdfunding. She came close. Her small investors agreed to redirect their commitments from her restaurant concept to the Aubergine purchase. She secured an SBA loan for 100,000. Her savings covered 50,000. She was still $100,000 short. She looked at the number again. $100,000. A fraction of what her father had given Marcus. An amount that stood between her and the opportunity of a lifetime. Maya picked up her phone and called her father. Maya, if you're calling to apologize for your behavior at dinner, I'm not. I'm calling because I have an opportunity to buy Aubergine. Chef Laurent is selling, and he wants me to be the buyer. I need $100,000 to make the down payment. There was a long pause. Maya, we've been through this. I'm not investing in your restaurant ventures. This isn't a venture, Dad. This is a purchase of an established, profitable restaurant. Aubergine has been successful for 15 years. It has regular clientele, a strong reputation, consistent revenue. This is as low risk as restaurant ownership gets. Then why can't you get traditional financing? I am getting traditional financing. I have an SBA loan. I have private investors. I just need 100,000 more to reach the down payment. If your investors and the bank believe in this, why do you need money from me? Because the timeline is tight, and traditional lenders move slowly. I need to close this deal in 3 weeks, or Chef Laurent will sell to a restaurant group. Please, Dad. This is the opportunity I've been working toward my entire career. Another pause. I'm sorry, Maya. My money is committed to Marcus's startup. I can't pull out of that commitment. Can't or won't. Both. I made a promise to your brother. And frankly, I still think you're making a mistake. Restaurant ownership is brutal. You'll work yourself to death for margins that barely exist. So you'd rather I work myself to death as someone else's sous chef. I'd rather you find a career that doesn't require killing yourself for other people's meals. Maya hung up without saying goodbye. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at her business plan, her loan documents, her investor commitments. $99,900. So close, too far. Then she remembered something. Her grandmother, Abuela Carmen, had passed away 2 years ago. She'd left small inheritances to all her grandchildren. Maya had put hers in a high-yield savings account, untouched, because it felt wrong to spend money meant as a legacy from her grandmother on everyday expenses. She checked the balance. $38,000. Still short. Still not enough. Maya spent a sleepless night running numbers, trying to find creative solutions. By morning she'd made a decision. She called her landlord and gave notice on her apartment. She'd move into a cheaper place, maybe get a roommate. She called her car insurance and dropped her coverage to the minimum. She looked at every expense in her life and cut ruthlessly. She could contribute another $20,000 from extreme lifestyle cuts over the next 6 months. Still short by $42,000. Then her phone rang. An unknown number with a 212 area code. New York. Is this Maya Rodriguez, the sous chef at Aubergine? Yes, who's calling? My name is Jonathan Blake. I'm a food critic for the New York Times. I ate at Aubergine last month, and I'm writing a review. Your octopus dish was extraordinary. I'd like to quote you in the piece. They talked for 20 minutes about her cooking philosophy, her techniques, her influences. Jonathan was knowledgeable and genuinely interested. The conversation was energizing. One more question, he said before hanging up. What are your plans for the future? Any ambitions to open your own place? Maya hesitated, then decided honesty was the best approach. Actually, I'm trying to buy Aubergine from Chef Laurent. He's retiring and wants to sell to someone who will maintain his vision. That's a great story. Mind if I mention it in the review? Not at all. The New York Times review published 5 days later. It was glowing. Jonathan called Aubergine one of Boston's hidden gems, and specifically praised Maya's innovative approach to traditional techniques. He mentioned that she was in the process of purchasing the restaurant, calling it an exciting development for Boston's culinary scene. The morning the review published, Maya's phone started ringing. Investors. People who'd read the Times review and wanted to know more about Aubergine. People who loved the restaurant and wanted to support its continued success. By the end of the day, she had 3 new investment offers totaling $80,000. Combined with her other sources, she was now just $12,000 short. Maya looked at the numbers. $12,000. She'd come so far, but $12,000 might as well be $1 million if she couldn't find it. Then she got a text from an unknown number. Maya, this is Sophia Chen. I'm a regular at Aubergine. I come in every few weeks. I saw the NYT review. I heard through the grapevine that you're buying the restaurant. I'm an investor in tech and hospitality. I'd like to talk about potentially investing. Are you free for coffee tomorrow? They met the next day. Sophia was young, probably close to Maya's age, sharply dressed and direct. I love Aubergine, Sophia said. It's one of the few restaurants in Boston that takes real risks while maintaining consistency. I've been looking for food and beverage investments, and this feels perfect. How much do you need? Honestly, $12,000. That's all that stands between me and closing this deal. Sophia didn't hesitate. Done. I'll wire you $15,000. The extra $3,000 is for unexpected costs during the transition. In exchange, I want 1% equity and the right to consult on major business decisions. Maya wanted to cry with relief. Deal. Absolutely deal. 3 days later, the wire transfer cleared. Maya had her $300,000 down payment. She called Chef Laurent. I can close. Let's do this. The sale finalized 2 weeks later. Maya Rodriguez, at 32 years old, became the owner of Aubergine, one of Boston's most respected restaurants. She called her family to share the news. Her mother answered, "Mom, I wanted to let you know. I bought Aubergine. I'm a restaurant owner now." There was a pause. That's nice, dear. How did you manage the financing? I found investors who believed in me. People who saw the value in what I do. Well, good luck with that. Your father and I are helping Marcus move into his new office space this weekend. His startup is really taking off. That's great, Mom. I have to go. Lots to do. Maya hung up and looked around her new kitchen. Her restaurant. Her family thought she was making a mistake. they'd be proven wrong. The first 6 months of owning Aubergine were the hardest of Maya's life. Not because the restaurant wasn't successful. It was. Business remained strong. Reviews continued to be excellent. Regular customers were thrilled that the restaurant would continue with minimal changes. But the work was endless. Maya was no longer just responsible for the kitchen. She was responsible for everything: payroll, inventory, vendor relationships, marketing, health inspections, staff scheduling, equipment maintenance, and 1,000 other details that Chef Laurent had handled. She worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week. She fell into bed exhausted every night and woke up thinking about problems that needed solving. The loan payments were substantial. The pressure was immense. But Maya had never been happier. This was hers. Every decision, every dish, every success, it all belonged to her. She made changes gradually. Updated the menu to incorporate more of her own style. Streamlined some of Chef Laurent's processes to increase efficiency. Built stronger relationships with local farmers and purveyors who appreciated her commitment to quality ingredients. 3 months after the purchase, Maya hired a new sous chef, freeing herself up to focus more on business operations and menu development. 6 months in, Aubergine was not just maintaining its reputation but actively growing. Reservations were getting harder to secure. Press coverage was increasing. Meanwhile, her family continued to focus on Marcus's startup. Her mother would occasionally ask how the restaurant was going, but the question always felt perfunctory, like she was just being polite. Her father never asked at all. Marcus's startup, it turned out, was struggling. The AI customer service platform he'd been so confident about already existed in several better developed versions. His attempt to differentiate his product wasn't gaining traction. 6 months in, he'd burned through most of Richard's investment with little to show for it. Maya heard this through her mother during a rare phone call. Marcus is having a difficult time with his business. The tech industry is so competitive. Your father is considering investing more money to help him through this rough patch. How much more? Maya asked. Another 100,000. Marcus says he just needs more runway to prove the concept. Maya bit her tongue. Another $100,000. The amount she'd needed and been denied. Now being thrown at Marcus's failing startup like it was nothing. I hope it works out for him. Maya said neutrally. You know, Maya, you could be more supportive of your brother. I am supportive. I hope his business succeeds. You don't sound like it. Mom, I'm running a restaurant. I work 90 hours a week. I'm sorry if I don't have energy left over to cheerlead for Marcus's startup. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You're always so focused on yourself. Maya wanted to laugh. She was focused on herself. She was the one who'd been denied family support and told her career was a joke, but she'd learned that arguing with her mother was pointless. I have to go, Mom. Dinner service starts soon. 8 months after buying Aubergine, Maya got a call that would change everything. It was from a producer at a food television network. Miss Rodriguez, my name is Andrea Chen. I'm a producer for Chef's Challenge, the competitive cooking show. We're casting for our new season, and your name came up repeatedly when we were asking industry contacts for recommendations. Would you be interested in competing? Chef's Challenge was one of the most popular cooking competition shows on television. Winning could launch a chef's career nationally. Even just appearing could provide valuable exposure. I'm interested, Maya said, but I should mention I own a restaurant. I'm not sure I can take the time away. The filming is only 2 weeks, and we'd work around your schedule as much as possible. The exposure for Aubergine would be significant. Past contestants have seen reservation requests triple after appearing on the show. Maya talked to her sous chef, who assured her he could handle 2 weeks of running the kitchen solo. She talked to her staff, who were excited about the publicity for the restaurant. She talked to Sophia, her investor, who thought it was a brilliant marketing opportunity. She agreed to compete. The filming took place in New York over 2 intensive weeks. Maya had to close the restaurant for those weeks, which hurt revenue, but the long-term benefits seemed worth it. The competition was brutal, 12 highly skilled chefs competing in challenges that tested every aspect of their abilities. Maya thrived, not because the challenges were easy. They weren't, but because she'd spent years working under pressure in professional kitchens. She knew how to think fast, execute precisely, and deliver under stress. She made it to the final four, then the final two. The finale was a 3-hour cook where each chef had to prepare a complete tasting menu that represented their culinary journey. Maya created 5 courses that told the story of her Venezuelan heritage meeting French technique meeting Boston's local ingredients. Each dish was technically perfect and emotionally resonant. She won. Standing on that stage holding the Chef's Challenge trophy while confetti fell around her, Maya felt something she'd been chasing her entire career: validation, recognition, proof that she belonged at this level. The show aired 3 months later. The response was overwhelming. Aubergine's phone rang constantly with reservation requests. Maya's social media following exploded. Food blogs and magazines wanted interviews. Other restaurants reached out about collaborations. And finally, her family called. Her mother was first. "Maya, we just watched your show. You won." "That's wonderful. Thanks, Mom. Your father is so proud. He wants to come eat at the restaurant. He's welcome anytime. We're booked solid for the next 2 months, but I can squeeze the family in." 2 months. My goodness, you're popular now. Now. As if she hadn't been working at this level for years. As if winning a television competition was more legitimate than the decade of work that had prepared her for it. But Maya kept those thoughts to herself. "Let me know what dates work for you. I'll take care of you." Marcus called next. "Hey sis, saw your show. Pretty cool. Thanks. Listen, I wanted to ask you something. My startup isn't working out. I'm thinking about pivoting into food tech, apps for restaurant management, that kind of thing. Could I pick your brain about the industry?" Maya almost laughed. Marcus wanted her help now. After spending years dismissing her career as unimportant, he wanted access to her knowledge and connections. "Marcus, I'm pretty slammed right now. Maybe in a few months when things calm down." "Come on, Maya. Family helps family." "You're right. Family does help family. Where were you when I was trying to buy Aubergine? When I needed support and encouragement?" "That's not fair. I was focused on my own business." "Exactly. So now I'm focused on mine. Good luck with the pivot." She hung up before he could respond. Her father called last. "Maya, I wanted to congratulate you on your television victory." "Thank you. Your mother said you're doing quite well with the restaurant. Booked solid for months." "Business is good, yes. I'm glad. I know I wasn't supportive when you wanted to buy it. I thought you were making a mistake." "I know what you thought. I was wrong. You've built something impressive. I'd like to come see it. Bring your mother and have a meal." "You're welcome anytime. Just call ahead for a reservation." "We shouldn't need a reservation. You own the place." And there it was. The assumption that now that she was successful, the rules that applied to everyone else shouldn't apply to family. That her time and her staff's work weren't as valuable as her parents' convenience. "Dad, my staff works hard to coordinate reservations and manage the dining room flow. Everyone needs a reservation, including family. It's how I run a professional operation." Richard was quiet for a moment. "Fine. I'll make a reservation." They came 3 weeks later. Maya seated them at a prime table, and personally prepared several special courses for them. The meal was exceptional. Every dish precisely executed. The service impeccable. Her parents praised everything. Her mother complimented the ambiance. Her father called the food world-class. Marcus, who'd come along, took photos for his Instagram with captions about his sister, the chef. At the end of the meal, as they were leaving, Richard pulled Maya aside. "I want to apologize for not believing in you. For giving Marcus money I denied you. You were right, and I was wrong. Thank you for saying that. Is there anything I can do to make it up to you?" Maya thought about that carefully. "You can keep coming here. Bring your friends. Tell people about aubergine. Support me the way you should have from the beginning. I can do that. He did. Richard became a regular at aubergine, bringing business associates and friends. He spoke highly of Maya's talent and her restaurant. He finally belatedly became the proud father he should have been all along, but Maya noticed something interesting. She didn't need his pride anymore. She'd built her success without it, and that independence was more valuable than his approval ever could be. 1 year after winning Chef's Challenge, Aubergine was thriving beyond Maya's wildest expectations. The restaurant was consistently booked weeks in advance. She'd hired 2 additional sous chefs and expanded the dining room into adjacent space, increasing seating capacity by 30%. Revenue had tripled. The restaurant was not just profitable, but genuinely successful. Maya was earning more than she ever had, paying down her loans ahead of schedule, building real financial security. She'd also started consulting with other chefs who wanted to open restaurants, sharing the knowledge she'd gained the hard way. This consulting work brought in additional income and built her reputation in the broader culinary community. At 34, Maya Rodriguez was no longer just a talented chef. She was a successful businesswoman, a television personality, and an increasingly influential voice in Boston's restaurant scene. Meanwhile, Marcus's startup had failed completely. After burning through Richard's $200,000 investment, plus an additional $100,000, Marcus had shut down the company. He'd taken a corporate job at a tech company, a regular 9-to-5 position with a steady paycheck. Maya heard about this through her mother, who seemed to expect Maya to gloat or say, "I told you so." Maya didn't. There was no satisfaction in Marcus's failure. She'd never wanted him to fail. She just wanted her family to believe in her as much as they'd believed in him. "How's he doing?" Maya asked genuinely. "He's fine. Disappointed, but fine. The corporate job is stable, at least. Good benefits. That's good. Your father feels terrible about the money. He keeps saying he should have invested in your restaurant instead. He made the choice he thought was right at the time. You're being very gracious about this." "I'm being honest. Dad chose Marcus because he believed in him. I wish he'd believed in me too, but he didn't. So I found people who did. It worked out." That conversation happened on a Tuesday afternoon. By Friday, Maya would receive an offer that would test everything she'd built. She was in the kitchen, preparing for evening service, when her phone rang. Unknown number, international country code. "Hello, Miss Rodriguez. My name is Hassan al-Rashid. I'm the director of culinary operations for the Burj Zara Hotel in Dubai. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. I have a few minutes. What can I do for you?" "I'll be direct. We're opening a new fine dining restaurant at our property, and we're looking for an executive chef to lead the concept. Your name has come up repeatedly in our search. Would you be interested in discussing this opportunity?" Maya's heart started racing. The Burj Zara was one of the most luxurious hotels in Dubai. A position as executive chef there would be prestigious, high profile, and extraordinarily well compensated. "I'm listening." The compensation package would include a base salary of $300,000, performance bonuses, housing, and equity participation in the restaurant's profits. We'd give you complete creative control over the menu and concept. This would be a flagship property, with a $7 million build-out budget, and a goal of earning Michelin recognition within 3 years. $300,000. Plus bonuses. Plus equity. Plus the resources to create at the highest level without financial constraints. "That's a generous offer," Maya said carefully. "But I own a successful restaurant in Boston. I'd be giving up a lot to relocate." "We understand. We'd be prepared to negotiate a buyout arrangement for your current restaurant if that's what it takes to bring you on board. Or we could structure a consulting arrangement where you maintain ownership while overseeing the Dubai property. Can I think about this?" "Of course. Take a week. We're talking to other candidates, but you're our first choice." After they hung up, Maya stood in her kitchen, overwhelmed. This was the kind of offer chefs dreamed about. The kind of opportunity that could establish her as a world-class culinary talent. But it meant leaving Boston, leaving Aubergine, the restaurant she'd fought so hard to buy, leaving the life she'd built. She talked to her sous chefs, who told her she'd be crazy not to take it. She talked to Sophia, who ran the numbers and confirmed it was an incredible financial opportunity. She talked to former colleagues who'd worked in Dubai and said the culinary scene there was exploding. She even talked to Chef Laurent, who'd mentored her at Aubergine. Maya, when I sold you the restaurant, I hoped you'd have the courage to keep growing. This is growth. Take the opportunity. You can always come back to Boston if it doesn't work out. 5 days after receiving the offer, Maya called Hassan al-Rashid back. I'm interested. Let's talk about the details. The negotiation took 3 weeks. In the end, Maya agreed to a hybrid arrangement. She'd sell 60% of Aubergine to her head sous chef and a small group of investors, maintaining 40% ownership and consulting rights. She'd take the Dubai position as executive chef, with the understanding that she'd spend approximately 9 months per year in Dubai and 3 months in Boston overseeing Aubergine. The contracts were complex, the logistics challenging, but it was doable. Maya broke the news to her family over Sunday brunch. I'm moving to Dubai, she announced. I've been offered an executive chef position at the Burj Zara Hotel. I'm taking it. The silence around the table was heavy. Dubai? Patricia finally said. Maya, that's halfway around the world. I know where Dubai is, Mom. What about Aubergine? I'm maintaining partial ownership and consulting rights. My sous chef is buying me out of the majority stake. The restaurant will be fine. Richard spoke up. This is a big decision. Have you really thought it through? Maya looked at her father, the man who'd told her restaurant ownership was a mistake, who'd denied her funding, who'd only started supporting her after she'd proven him wrong. I've thought it through carefully. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. I'd be running a $7 million restaurant with complete creative control. It's everything I've worked toward. But you'll be alone in Dubai. No family, no support system. I'll build a new support system. That's what I've always done. Marcus looked at her with something that might have been respect. That's actually really cool, Maya. Congrats. Thanks. When do you leave? 6 weeks. I need to transition my responsibilities at Aubergine and get set up in Dubai. Those 6 weeks were a blur of activity. Training her successor at Aubergine, packing up her apartment, applying for visas, coordinating with the Burj Zara team on menu concepts and kitchen design. Her family threw her a going-away dinner. It was awkward and emotional, full of the complicated dynamics that had always defined their relationships. We're proud of you, Patricia said, hugging Maya tightly, even if we don't always know how to show it. I know, Mom. Will you come back to visit? Of course. I'll have to come back regularly for Aubergine anyway. On a warm September morning, Maya boarded a plane to Dubai. As the plane took off, she looked down at Boston disappearing below her, and felt a mixture of excitement and sadness. She was leaving behind everything familiar, but she was flying toward the kind of opportunity she'd only dreamed about. Her family had called her career a joke. She'd responded by building something so successful that one of the world's premier hotels was recruiting her to lead their flagship restaurant. The joke, it turned out, was on them. Dubai was overwhelming at first. The heat, the scale of the city, the international mix of people and cultures, it was unlike anywhere Maya had ever lived. But the culinary scene was extraordinary. Chefs from around the world, ingredients from dozens of countries, diners with sophisticated palates and money to spend on exceptional experiences. The Burj Zara was more impressive than Maya had imagined. A gleaming tower of luxury, with a rooftop infinity pool, multiple restaurants, and service that set standards for the entire city. Maya's restaurant, which she'd named Estrella, Spanish for stars, occupied prime real estate on the hotel's top floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Dubai skyline and the Persian Gulf. The kitchen was state-of-the-art, with equipment Maya had only dreamed about. Her team included talented chefs from France, Lebanon, India, Japan, and Venezuela. The concept she developed blended her Venezuelan roots with global influences and contemporary techniques. Each dish told a story, connected culinary traditions across continents, and pushed technical boundaries. The build-out took 4 months. Maya oversaw every detail, from the kitchen layout to the dining room design, to the custom-designed plates and glassware. She developed a menu that was ambitious but achievable, creative but accessible. Estrella's opened in January, 2 years after Maya had been denied funding by her father and told her restaurant dreams were a joke. The opening night was spectacular. Influential food critics, Dubai socialites, hotel VIPs, and culinary colleagues filled the dining room. Every course was executed perfectly. The service was flawless. The buzz was immediate and positive. The reviews started appearing within days. "A new star in Dubai's culinary sky," wrote the Gulf News critic. "Rodriguez brings innovative technique and soulful cooking to the city's fine dining scene," said the National. Within 2 months, Estrella's was one of the hottest reservations in Dubai. Within 6 months, it was being discussed as a potential Michelin star candidate when the guide expanded to the UAE. Maya's life in Dubai settled into an intense but satisfying rhythm. She worked long hours but loved the creative freedom. She built friendships with other expat chefs. She explored the city, traveled to nearby countries for ingredient sourcing, and immersed herself in Middle Eastern food culture. She flew back to Boston every few months to check on Aubergine, which continued to thrive under her successor's management. These visits were bittersweet. She missed Boston, missed the familiar comfort of home, but she also knew she'd made the right choice. Her relationship with her family evolved into something more honest. Video calls every few weeks, where they actually talked about their lives, instead of dancing around old hurts. Her parents visited Dubai once, staying at the Burj Zara, and dining at Estrella's. They were impressed, maybe even awed. "I can't believe you built this," Richard said, looking around the stunning dining room. "This is world-class, Maya." "It is," she agreed simply. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you could do it. You've apologized before, Dad. I know you're sorry. What matters is that you believe in me now." "I do, I really do." 1 year after Estrella's opened, Maya received news that would cement her success. The Michelin Guide was coming to Dubai, and Estrella's was on their inspection list. The pressure was immense. Michelin stars could make or break a restaurant's reputation. 1 star meant a very good restaurant. 2 stars meant excellent cooking, worth a detour. 3 stars meant exceptional cuisine, worth a special journey. Maya didn't dare hope for 3 stars, that was reserved for truly legendary establishments. But 1 star, maybe 2, seemed possible if everything went perfectly. The inspection process was secretive. Michelin inspectors dined anonymously, often visiting multiple times before making their evaluations. Maya knew they were coming but didn't know when or who they were. For months, she and her team maintained perfect consistency. Every dish executed flawlessly. Every service smooth and polished. Every detail attended to with obsessive care. The Michelin Guide for Dubai published in November. Maya was in the kitchen, preparing for evening service, when Hassan called her with the news. "Maya, sit down." Her heart stopped. "What happened?" "Estrella's received 2 Michelin stars." Maya couldn't breathe. 2 stars, excellent cooking, worth a detour. One of only a handful of restaurants in the entire UAE to receive that recognition. "Are you serious?" "Completely serious. The guide publishes tomorrow, but they gave us advance notice." "Maya, this is extraordinary. You're 35 years old and you've earned 2 Michelin stars. Do you understand how rare that is?" She did. Most chefs spent entire careers chasing even 1 star. She had 2, at age 35, at a restaurant she'd opened less than 2 years ago. "Can I tell my team?" "Yes." "Congratulations, chef." Maya walked out into the kitchen where her team was prepping for service. "Everyone, stop for a minute." They all looked up. "I just got a call. Estrella's received 2 Michelin stars." The kitchen erupted. Cheering, hugging, a few tears. This was validation not just for Maya, but for everyone who'd worked so hard to make the restaurant exceptional. That evening's service was electric. Word had leaked somehow. It always did. and the dining room was full of regulars and VIPs who wanted to celebrate the achievement. After service ended, Maya stood alone in her kitchen, looking around at the space she'd built. 2 Michelin stars. At a restaurant she'd created from nothing but vision and skill. She pulled out her phone and called her father. Maya, it's late there. Is everything okay? Everything's perfect. I wanted to tell you something. Estrella's just received 2 Michelin stars. The silence on the other end lasted so long, Maya thought the call had dropped. Dad? I'm here. Maya, that's incredible. 2 Michelin stars. Do you know how extraordinary that is? I do. I'm so proud of you. I know I've said that before, but this time I really truly understand what you've accomplished. You're not just a chef, you're one of the best chefs in the world. Thank you, Dad. That means a lot. After they hung up, Maya thought about the journey that had brought her here, from her father calling her restaurant dreams a joke to him, acknowledging her as one of the world's best chefs. She'd done it, not to prove him wrong, though that was satisfying, but to prove herself right, to validate every choice she'd made, every sacrifice she'd endured, every moment of doubt she'd pushed through. She was 35 years old, the executive chef of a 2 Michelin star restaurant in Dubai, with partial ownership of a successful restaurant in Boston, and a reputation that opened doors around the world. Her family had denied her $200,000 because they thought restaurant ownership was too risky. She'd responded by building something worth millions, and earning recognition that money couldn't buy. The revenge, she realized, wasn't about making them feel bad for doubting her. It was about becoming so successful that their doubts became irrelevant. The 2 Michelin stars transformed everything. Estrella's went from hot reservation to nearly impossible reservation. Maya's profile went global. She was invited to cook at prestigious events around the world. Other restaurants tried to recruit her with increasingly absurd offers. She turned them all down. She was exactly where she wanted to be. 2 years after earning the Michelin stars, Maya was approached about a television opportunity that would change her trajectory again. Not a competition show this time, but her own series. We want to do a show about you. The producer explained over video call, following your work at Estrella's, your travel sourcing ingredients, your creative process. Think Chef's Table meets Anthony Bourdain. The show, titled Maya's World, premiered 18 months later on a major streaming platform. It was beautifully filmed, thoughtfully edited, and resonated with audiences globally. The show didn't just showcase Maya's cooking. It explored her philosophy, her journey, and the cultural connections that food could create. The response was overwhelming. Maya's social media following exploded to over 2 million. She was recognized in airports, stopped on streets, invited to speak at conferences and universities. At 38, Maya Rodriguez was not just a successful chef. She was a global culinary personality, a businesswoman, and an inspiration to aspiring chefs around the world. Meanwhile, Marcus had continued working his corporate tech job. He was doing fine, earning a decent salary, living a stable life. But he wasn't building anything remarkable, wasn't chasing dreams or taking risks. During one of Maya's visits back to Boston, they had coffee together. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. "Do you ever regret how everything went down? With Dad's investment, I mean." Maya thought about that carefully. "No, I don't regret it, really, because I've spent 3 years regretting it. I wasted Dad's money on a startup that never had a real chance. Meanwhile, you built an empire without any help from us. Marcus, your startup failing wasn't your fault. Sometimes businesses don't work out. That's not a character flaw, but you succeeded where I failed. I succeeded because I had to, because no one was going to save me if I failed. You had a safety net, which meant you could afford to take a riskier approach. Different circumstances, different outcomes. Are you saying having Dad's support actually hurt me? I'm saying it changed your relationship with risk. Neither approach is inherently better. But I learned something valuable from being denied support. I learned to trust myself completely. Marcus nodded slowly. I've been thinking about going back to school, getting an MBA, maybe starting another business someday, but doing it more carefully this time. That sounds like growth. I'm sorry, by the way, for how I acted, calling your restaurant a joke, being dismissive of your work. I was jealous and insecure, and I took it out on you. I know. Thank you for saying it. They parted on good terms, maybe genuinely understanding each other for the first time. 4 years after opening Estrela's, Maya received an email that represented the pinnacle of culinary achievement. Dear Chef Rodriguez, we are writing to inform you that Estrela's has been awarded a third Michelin star. Maya read the email 3 times, unable to process the words. Dichen ima prate. Wusteds process the words. 3 stars. Exceptional cuisine, worth a special journey, the highest recognition in all of gastronomy. Only a few hundred restaurants in the entire world held 3 Michelin stars. Maya's restaurant was now one of them. She was 39 years old. The news made international headlines. Venezuelan-American chef earns rare third Michelin star, read the New York Times. Maya Rodriguez joins elite ranks of 3-star chefs, reported Eater. Her family called immediately, all of them on a group video chat, everyone talking over each other with congratulations and pride. This is unbelievable, Richard kept saying. 3 Michelin stars. Maya, this is the top of the top. I know, Dad. I cannot believe I ever doubted you. I cannot believe I called restaurants a bad investment. Dad, it's okay. Really, we've moved past that. I know, but still, you're one of the best chefs in the world. My daughter is one of the best chefs in the world. Patricia was crying. I'm so proud of you, Misha. So proud. Even Marcus was genuinely enthusiastic. This is insane, Maya. You're a legend. After the call ended, Maya sat in her Dubai apartment, looking out at the glittering city skyline, thinking about her journey. 10 years ago, her brother had called her restaurant a joke, and her father had given him $200,000 instead of funding her dreams. Now she owned a 3 Michelin star restaurant, had a successful television show, commanded speaking fees of $50,000 per appearance, and had a net worth exceeding $10 million. The revenge had never been about making them suffer. It had been about building something so undeniable that their initial judgment became laughable. She'd done that. Completely, thoroughly, undeniably. The third Michelin star brought opportunities that Maya had never imagined. Luxury brands wanted partnerships. Publishers wanted cookbooks. Investors wanted to back restaurant concepts. She was offered a position as a celebrity judge on multiple cooking shows. She was selective about what she accepted. She wrote a cookbook that became a bestseller. She agreed to open a second restaurant, this time in New York, with a concept that pushed even further into innovative territory. She continued her television work, expanding beyond her own show to occasional appearances on other programs. But she also made sure to maintain what mattered most: the quality and integrity of Estrellas. The third star wasn't an endpoint but a responsibility. Every service had to be perfect. Every dish had to be exceptional. The pressure never let up. Maya thrived on that pressure. At 42, she was at the absolute peak of her career. Her New York restaurant, Luna, earned 2 Michelin stars within 18 months of opening. Her television show entered its 4th season. Her cookbook won a James Beard Award. She was consistently named among the world's top chefs in industry rankings. And through it all, she maintained her relationship with her family. Not the superficial relationship they'd had before, but something real and honest. They visited her regularly. She flew home for important events. They'd learned to appreciate her not as the family disappointment, but as the family success story. During one visit to Boston, Richard asked if they could have a private conversation. They sat in his study, the same room where Maya had presented her business plan for Alma 10 years ago. The same room where he'd told her restaurant ownership was too risky. I want to tell you something, Richard began. When you asked me for money to buy aubergine, I said no because I thought you were making a mistake. But that wasn't the complete truth. Maya waited. The complete truth is that I was scared. Scared that you were right and I was wrong about what constituted success. Scared that if you succeeded in such an unconventional path, it would force me to question the choices I'd made in my own life. Dad, let me finish. I built a successful real estate business. I made money, provided for my family, did everything I was supposed to do, but I never loved it. Never felt passionate about it the way you clearly love cooking, and watching you choose passion over security made me uncomfortable because it highlighted the fact that I'd chosen security over passion decades ago. Your choices were valid for you. Maybe, but they led me to live a life that was comfortable but not fulfilling. You chose differently. You chose risk and passion and growth, and you built something extraordinary. I denied you money not because I didn't believe in you, but because I didn't believe in the path you were taking, because I'd never had the courage to take that path myself. Maya felt tears pricking her eyes. Thank you for telling me that. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand. But Maya, I want you to know, you inspire me. At 65 years old, you've inspired me to start pursuing things I'm actually interested in, instead of just things that make money. What are you interested in? Woodworking, actually. Furniture design. I've started taking classes, working in a small studio. It's not going to make me rich, but it makes me happy. And I learned that from watching you. They talked for another hour, really talked, about dreams and choices and the different forms success could take. That conversation represented something important. Not just reconciliation with her father, but validation of a deeper truth, that choosing your authentic path, even when it's difficult and unconventional, can inspire others to do the same. 3 years later, when Maya was 45, she received an invitation that represented the ultimate recognition of her career. The Bocuse d'Or, often called the Olympics of cooking, wanted her to lead the American team in the next competition. It was an enormous honor, requiring 2 years of preparation for a single 5.5-hour cooking competition, judged by the world's most prestigious chefs. Maya accepted without hesitation. The preparation was intense. Selecting team members, developing the menu, practicing obsessively, refining every technique. It consumed 2 years of her life. The competition took place in Lyon, France. 24 countries competing, each team trying to execute impossibly complex dishes under extreme pressure, while hundreds of spectators watched. Maya's team performed flawlessly. Their meat platter and fish platter were technically perfect and visually stunning. The judges' scores were the highest the American team had ever received. They won the silver medal, second only to France. Standing on that podium, Maya thought about her journey. From line cook, to sous chef, to restaurant owner, to Michelin-starred chef, to Bocuse d'Or medalist. From family disappointment, to family inspiration. Her phone was full of messages from around the world. Colleagues, friends, fans. And right at the top, a message from her father. You are extraordinary. I love you. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand what you were building. Maya smiled and put her phone away. She didn't need the validation anymore, but it was nice to have. 5 years after winning the Bocuse d'Or silver medal, Maya was 50 years old, and considering the next chapter of her career. Estrella's still held its 3 Michelin stars. Luna had earned its 3rd star 2 years ago. She had partial ownership in Aubergine, which continued to thrive in Boston. Her television show had run for 7 seasons before she decided to end it on her own terms. She'd achieved everything she'd set out to achieve and more. Now she was thinking about legacy, about what came next, about how to use her success to create opportunities for others. She announced the establishment of the Rodriguez Culinary Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to providing culinary education and business training to aspiring chefs from underrepresented backgrounds. The foundation would offer scholarships, mentorship programs, and small business loans for restaurant startups. She seeded it with $2 million of her own money and recruited other successful chefs to join the board and contribute expertise. I was lucky. Maya told the audience at the foundation's launch event. I had talent and drive, But I also had mentors who believed in me when my own family didn't. I had investors who saw potential when banks said no. I had opportunities that opened doors to bigger opportunities. Not everyone gets those chances. This foundation is about creating those chances for people who might not otherwise get them. The response was overwhelming. Applications poured in. Other chefs and food industry professionals volunteered their time. Corporate sponsors wanted to contribute funding. Within 2 years, the Rodriguez Culinary Foundation had helped 43 aspiring chefs get training, funding, and mentorship to pursue their culinary dreams. Maya's family had become deeply involved in the foundation. Her mother served on the board, using her legal expertise to help structure the organization. Her father contributed significant funding and recruited other donors from his business network. Even Marcus helped, using his tech skills to build the foundation's digital infrastructure. They'd become a family that actually worked together, supporting each other's endeavors instead of competing for limited approval. At 53, Maya decided to step back from day-to-day operations at her restaurants. She remained the creative director and majority owner, but she promoted talented chefs to executive chef roles at both Estrelas and Luna. She spent her time on the foundation, on occasional consulting work, on writing her second cookbook, and on finally allowing herself to enjoy life beyond the kitchen. She'd never married, never had children. Those were choices she'd made consciously, knowing that her career required a level of dedication that wouldn't have been fair to a partner or kids. She didn't regret those choices. She'd built exactly the life she wanted. On her 55th birthday, her family threw her a celebration dinner at Aubergine. 3 generations of Rodriguez's plus friends from across the culinary world, plus mentees from the foundation. The restaurant was closed for the night, reserved exclusively for Maya's celebration. Her father stood to give a toast. 25 years ago, my daughter asked me for money to open a restaurant. I said no. I told her restaurant ownership was too risky, that she was making a mistake. I gave that money to her brother for a tech startup that failed within 18 months. Richard paused, looking directly at Maya. That was the worst business decision I ever made. Not because Marcus's startup failed. Businesses fail, that's life. But because I missed the opportunity to be part of something extraordinary from the beginning. Maya didn't need my money, as it turned out. She built an empire without it. But I wish I'd had the wisdom to support her when she asked. He raised his glass. To Maya, who taught all of us that success isn't about following the safe path. It's about following the right path, even when everyone tells you you're crazy. You were right. We were wrong, and we're grateful you didn't let our doubts stop you. Everyone drank, and Maya felt a completeness she'd been chasing her entire career. Later that night, after most guests had left, Maya stood in Aubergine's kitchen with her original sous chef, the one who'd bought her out when she moved to Dubai and who now owned the restaurant outright. You know what's funny, he said, when you bought this place 15 years ago, your family thought you were making a mistake. Now you've inspired probably 1,000 young chefs to pursue their dreams. How does that feel? Maya thought about it. It feels like I came full circle. I started as someone whose own family didn't believe in her. Now I'm someone who helps other people believe in themselves. That's a hell of a legacy. It is, but the real legacy isn't the restaurants or the Michelin stars or the television show. It's the proof that you can build the life you want, even when the people who are supposed to support you don't. That you can trust yourself when no one else will. That you can turn rejection into fuel instead of letting it destroy you. She looked around the kitchen where she'd worked so many years ago, where she'd learned to lead, where she'd taken the first big risk of her career. My family called my restaurant a joke. My father gave my brother $200,000 and told me I was making a mistake. That hurt, deeply. But it also freed me. Because once I accepted that I wouldn't get their support, I stopped waiting for it. I stopped trying to convince them I was making the right choice. I just went out and made it. And now they're proud of me. Now they tell people about their daughter, the famous chef. Now they understand. But the beautiful thing is, I don't need them to understand anymore. I built my success for me, not for them. Their approval is nice, but it's not necessary. She smiled. That's the real revenge. Not making them regret their choices, though I suspect they do, but becoming so secure in your own worth that their opinions stop mattering. That's freedom. Maya Rodriguez had started as the family disappointment who wanted to open a restaurant. She'd been denied funding, dismissed as impractical, told her dreams were jokes. She'd responded by earning 3 Michelin stars, opening multiple successful restaurants, winning international competitions, inspiring thousands of aspiring chefs, and building a legacy that would outlast any of them. Her family's rejection had been painful, but it had also been the catalyst that pushed her to prove not to them, but to herself, that she was capable of extraordinary things. 25 years after her father chose her brother over her, Maya stood in a kitchen she'd once owned, surrounded by the evidence of everything she'd built, and felt nothing but gratitude. Gratitude for the rejection that had forced her to bet on herself, gratitude for the struggle that had taught her resilience, gratitude for the family that had finally learned to see her, but mostly gratitude for the courage to pursue her truth even when everyone told her she was wrong, because in the end she hadn't been wrong at all. She'd been exactly right.